been a little while since I've recorded a new video. I had a lot of things going on, a lot of other videos that I've been trying to make and put out on YouTube. Plus, I just went to Tennessee for the Exit 111 Festival. Got to see a lot of great bands. Got to see Leonard Skinner, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, Ghost, Lamb of God, Slayer, among many, many others. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to put any vlogs together. Plus, I've been waiting for something to, of interest to come out that I could discuss on here that would then open up, other subjects or whatever. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm a little late on this, but 3 or 4 weeks ago, a new 35th anniversary, or 30th anniversary, I should say, of an album that was very important to me when I was young just came out, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because I finally got it today from Amazon. I actually got 2 records today from Amazon. The first one would be this little thing right here, which is Alice in Chains, Sap, and Jar of Flies all on one record, or well, I guess it's a 2-record set, but all in one package. Fantastic. Maybe I'll vlog about Alice in Chains or something some other time. But the record that I wanted to discuss today, amongst other things related to this artist, is the 30th anniversary of Whitesnake's Slip of the Tongue. This album was originally released in 1989. It includes the hits Fool for Your Lovin', The Deeper the Love, as well as Now You're Gone, and Judgment Day, which is still a huge concert favorite. Before I open this up, I kind of wanted to go through the career of Whitesnake, because the general assumption, or the misconception I should say, is that Whitesnake is an 80s band, an 80s hair band. And yes, obviously they did have their 80s hair band phase. Everybody knows that probably in 1987, outside of Bon Jovi and Def Leppard were the biggest thing on the rock scene. And that was due to this album, which is the famous 1987 self-titled record. This right here is actually the 30th anniversary of this that came out 2 years ago. I imagine whatever's, packaged in here is pretty similar to this record, but we'll check on that later. But this record was the one that made Whitesnake a household name, but Whitesnake had existed for 9 or 10 years before this record came out. Whitesnake, the primary mover in Whitesnake, the one lone original member, and really the namesake of the band is a gentleman named David Coverdale, who, is coming up on around 50 years or so in the music business, because Whitesnake actually grew out of another famous British band called Deep Purple. David Coverdale actually joined Deep Purple. He was their 3rd lead singer. Joined Deep Purple at the end of 1973 and was with Deep Purple until they disbanded in 1976. Some of the highlights from his tenure with the career include Burn, which many people feel is right up there with Machine Head as far as, their best records. He was also on a couple other records, Stormbringer, which is one of my personal favorites, and the cover's cool. But a great record, a little funky, turned off some Deep Purple fans, but, it's a little bit different, pretty cool. And then the final studio record he made was called Come Taste the Band. This was actually with guitar player Tommy Bolin, who unfortunately passed away about a year or so after the album was released. So, again, another, a little bit funky, a little bit different from the Deep Purple norm, but, still a really cool record. And then, of course, there's Made in Europe, which is one of 1,000 Deep Purple live records, and several of those featuring David Coverdale. It only has 5 tracks on it. They're kind of edited down. If you were going to listen to, the live tracks off this, you'd be better off getting a CD called Last Time in Paris, or it could even be Mark III, The Final Concerts, which actually has the entire concerts, every song they played, not edited down like what's on this record. And then of course, from Deep Purple, a couple of years later, David Coverdale formed Whitesnake. And actually, for a time, featured other members of Deep Purple, 2 other members at one point in time. John Lord on keyboards and Ian Pace on drums. So, of the 6 members of Whitesnake, 3 of them came out of Deep Purple. Now, Whitesnake, did have some similarities in sound and structure to Deep Purple. Way less experimental, way less progressive, more straightforward blues rock and roll. Very blues-based rock and roll. When Whitesnake first started, very, very different than what everybody knows them by, which is the more mid to late 80s, hair band output they had, which is great, but, unfortunately they kind of get pigeonholed when actually they had a huge career everywhere else in the world other than America before that time. Some of those records include Ready and Willing, which is fantastic. They're a live record from 1980 called Live in the Heart of the City. And then, of course, around 1984, they hit the big time with an album called Slide It In, which is right here. And this is actually the last Whitesnake album to feature John Lord before John Lord left to go back to the reformed Deep Purple in 1984 or so. Now, this album, it's been a pretty big year for Whitesnake. This album actually celebrated its 35th anniversary this year with this box set that you see right here. Now, the whole reason, I didn't order, the 35th anniversary on vinyl is because, as you see, I already had the vinyl for this record. And this box set's pretty cool because it has all sorts of extra stuff in it. I think there's 3 or 4 different versions of the album because there's a European version of the record, and then there was the American version of the record because the record label here wanted to hear something different, more vibrant, something that fit in more with what was going on in the rock scene at the time. So there's 2 different versions of the album that came out in 1984, and then I think this box set also includes another remix version as well as several live CDs, a DVD, and all sorts of other shit, a book. It's pretty cool. So I opted to get this for the 35th anniversary instead of getting a second copy of the vinyl. And like I stated, there's the aforementioned 1987 record, the record that really made Whitesnake a household name. This includes "In Still of the Night," "Is This Love," and of course the number 1 hit, "Here I Go Again." Excuse me. Just ate dinner. And then of course I also do have the newest Whitesnake record that came out earlier this year. Again, I said this is a big year for Whitesnake. Lots of anniversaries, a new record, and a pretty big tour and everything that Coverdale did this year. This is a new record, Flesh and Blood. Came out, I think, in May or April, maybe. I'm not really sure. Great record. If you like that old Whitesnake sound, if you want to hear new music by old bands, check this out. They didn't reinvent the wheel. Pretty much everything that you would love about a record like this is featured on Flesh and Blood. So good stuff. But again, this is a record right here that made them a household name. So, 2 years later, how do you follow this up? Of course, the record label is going to want you to pretty much rewrite, the same album again and put out the same album and follow the formula, which in some ways they did. So that's how we get to the featured album today, which is the 30th anniversary of Slip of the Tongue. Again, this came out in 1989. At this point, I think the entire band that was on the 1987 record had been fired, and then another group fired, or whoever. I don't know why Coverdale does that, but entirely different group of people on this record than who played on the 1987 record. This record included Steve Vai, who had previously been with David Lee Roth and Frank Zappa. Also included Adrian Vandenberg, and I think the first appearance on record of Tommy Aldridge, his longtime drummer, who's still currently the drummer today, and actually for context was actually the drummer for Black Oak, Arkansas when they did Jim Dandy. So a little bit of music trivia for you there. Also includes Rudy Sarzo, who was in the most popular version of Quiet Riot. So it's pretty all-star band on this record. Now, from what I understand with this record, I think all guitar duties, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, everything were all handled by Steve Vai, because Adrian Vandenberg was sick or something like that and actually didn't play on the record. But he is featured in the picture on the back right there, and I think actually played on the tour. So let's open this up and see what we got. Again, I expect it to be a lot like, the 1987 anniversary. And again, I opted not to get, there's a CD box set, a version of this that you can get that's much like that Slide It In box set that has, several different CDs, DVDs, and whatever. But most of the CDs that it comes with are just different mixes or demo versions of the stuff on here. And then I think it comes with a live album from Donington in 1990, which has already been released on CD, which I already had. So I didn't feel the need to get another copy of that. So, and plus I don't have Slip of the Tongue on vinyl. I've been looking for a couple of years to find one of the original 1989 issues, and I can't find them. So what better way to, complete my collection than to just go ahead and get the vinyl of this. So, the first thing I noticed when I looked at the release was that the track listing on this is different than the original CD and vinyl versions from 1989. They did the same thing on the 1987 record. So I don't know if maybe the track listings overseas or wherever were different. I'm not sure why they do that. Kind of makes it a little bit weird at first. Because, you expect to hear, after you listen to an album so many times for 30 years, you kind of expect to hear, things a certain way. Like this song ends, okay, boom, jumps right into this one, and unfortunately, now I have to get used to a different track list when I listen to this on vinyl. But this is a 2-record set. Side 1, Side 2, and some of Side 3 are the original album, or at least all the original songs. And then the other side and a half are made up of alternate intros and alternate breakdowns, and Fool for Your Lovin', there's a Vibe Voltage mix. I'm not really sure what that means, but check it out if you get a chance. So again, here's the cover. Whitesnake Slip of the Tongue, 30th Anniversary Remaster. I'm assuming that's 30 in Roman numerals. I'm not up on that stuff. Anyway, let's open the gatefold. Ooh, fancy. Very fancy. Here's your lyric sheet right here. It's got all the lyrics from the record. Let's see if I can maybe move this a little bit closer. And then it's got all your different credits and stuff, and it's got a couple of the pictures of the singles for this record. Again, Fool for Your Lovin' was a huge hit off this record. It was actually a cover of a Whitesnake song done back in 1980 on one of the other albums that I had there. Deeper the Love, one of my absolute favorite Whitesnake tunes. Probably should have been a bigger hit, not really sure why it wasn't. Now You're Gone, another fantastic song. And like I said, Judgment Day is another song that still gets played at their shows to date. There's also some other cool tracks on here, like Cheap and Nasty, the title track, Slip of the Tongue. All very, very tongue-in-cheek, good, good late 80s, arena rock stuff. So let's pull the record out and see if there's anything special in here. Nothing real special about the sleeve, just black. Pop the record out, and, nothing super special here, just 180-gram black vinyl. But I do like the inserts. They do have the Whitesnake logo and everything on the inside. I think that's pretty neat. All right. And let's see if there's anything special on the other side. There's no other inserts or anything on this. So, let's see what else we might have on the other side of here. Well, no inserts there either. This is a little bit anticlimactic, I guess, if that's the right word. But again, second record, kind of the same deal. It's got the cool insert, but again, nothing special going on there. So, all right. So this anniversary edition, maybe just doesn't have as much stuff in the packaging as I'd hoped. I know if you want to get the book or whatever that has all the information about the album and the history and all that kind of stuff, that's probably where you have to buy the 6 CD box set. So as much of a collector as I am of various things, mostly vinyl these days, I don't necessarily feel the need to have, spend the $30 on this vinyl and spend another $60 on the CDs. Especially for music I pretty much already have in digital format. So anyway, that's pretty much it for, my little David Coverdale Whitesnake talk. Check it out. Like I said, there's all these other albums from Deep Purple all the way to Whitesnake. And then if you want to go one step further, he did a project in 1993 with Jimmy Page, simply titled Coverdale Page, another great record. If you can imagine what Whitesnake and Led Zeppelin would sound like if you put them together, that's pretty much what the record is. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the way it is. But again, this just came out 3 or 4 weeks ago. Whitesnake, Slip of the Tongue, great record. Very much a record for the time. It sounds every bit of 1989. And again, that's not a bad thing for those of us that love that era of rock and roll before grunge pretty much wiped it out. And again, I got nothing against grunge either, because in the same box I got my Alice in Chains Jar of Flies staff record. So I'm just a lover of rock and roll. Doesn't matter if it's grunge, hair metal, thrash metal, punk rock. Really doesn't, classic rock. It really doesn't matter to me. I like it all. It's all just rock and roll to me, and that's the way I've always been. So again, thanks for checking me out. Like I said, the hope is always to post more of these as I come up with more topics, and maybe as more cool, anniversary editions of things are released. Again, check it out, Whitesnake. Maybe reach back a little bit further to definitely more than just a mid to late 80s hair band. And Coverdale's had a career that's now spanned almost 50 years, and he's still going strong. So check it out. Subscribe to my page if you like this video, and I hope to have another one up soon. See you later.